That's right. We back. This your boy, Stanley Doucette. We live. How is everybody doing? For those that are coming in, welcome to Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I am he, your host, and we have another amazing guest with us today. Hey, a matter of fact, go grab your notebook, some pen, paper, something to write with. This guy is amazing. He is absolutely phenomenal. He has a book. Well, I don't want to get too deep into it. Listen, my friend Glenn is off the chain. He is off the chain. The only thing, though, he's up in Toronto. And yeah, well, I'm not going to talk about him. But listen, I mean, he was absolutely an amazing guy. We're going to talk about some things I personally believe is absolutely critical to anything that you do. Now, we're going to talk about a word that a lot of people think is a curse word. It's not. It talks about sales. You got to close the deal on a sale in order to make money. If you don't close the deal, you're not going to make money. As a matter of fact, even for those that are interviewing for jobs, whether it's minimum wage job or high level jobs, if you don't sell yourself, guess what? You will not get paid. So you have to do
Exactly.
it. But I want to say hello to everybody that's out there, wherever you are around the world, all of my friends that are logging in, whether you're in America, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in Mexico, matter of fact, whether you anywhere in the world. Hello to all of my British friends, everybody in South America, everybody in South Africa. Hello, how you guys doing? And of course, all of my family in New Orleans. Whoa, now, how's everybody doing? So listen, I want you guys to buckle up. Get ready because my friend Glenn is coming on the air. I cannot wait for you guys to hear this. So listen, without further ado, without me doing anything else, let's welcome Glenn to the podcast. Glenn, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, Stanley, thanks so much for having me, and thanks for that great intro. So appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. Glenn, you know, this I know it's your first time on Let's Talk. We have a lot of fun. No telling what's going to happen. You're going to hear me hanging, ringing bells in my head, all kind of stuff going. So, but hey, you got to do what you got to do, Glenn. You know how that goes. So listen, before we get started, because everybody may be wondering so much about you and all of those different things. But first, before we do anything, who is Glenn? Tell us about Glenn.
Yeah, well, recently I've become a baseball fan, seeing I live in Toronto. That's one
I
thing.
understand.
Yeah, you know what that's like, eh? Sort of a fair weather fan, unfortunately. We got a lot of sports here, and so it's hard to keep track of all of them. But
I get
yeah,
it.
so I'm 63 years old. I grew up in Canada. I live part-time in Florida and Toronto now, so I split my
Okay.
time. My new business is in Florida, much warmer. I like the weather there a lot better. And I've built and sold a couple companies, most of it around sales businesses that I can describe to the people. Started out as a civil servant working for the government. They threw me out for working too hard and
Yes.
and then that's where I jumped into sales in 1985, and that was 40 years ago. And lots of fun moments along the way, and lots of challenges. It wasn't straight line up. It never is for anyone, right? And but it's about pushing forward, moving forward, and there's lots of that, lot of examples of that in the last 40 years I can definitely reflect on. And then towards the end, when I sold my last business in 22, I also was finishing up my book, so I published a book in 2022, Never Sit in the Lobby. And it's a book about how to build a career in sales, what to do, what not to do, and lots of good tips, funny stories in there. And yeah, so I'd love to share a few tips from that as well.
I was going to say, so I was going to go in a different direction. Well, let's do this if it's okay.
Sure.
You just wrote your book. And I'm a firm believer in all of my friends. I want to do everything I can to help them be successful. I don't, regardless of what it is, I want to make sure, of course, long as it's legal for all of my crazy
Yeah.
people out there, it has to be legal.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Now, outside of that, yeah, I definitely want to help. So let's look at this. Let's talk about your book. So I know you said in your, in the background, you kind of casually said it. I sold my last company, and first of all, some of us don't even have a company. This is your last company you sold. So
Right.
how did you actually get into that? And then we'll dive deeper into the book. How did you get into actually starting to sell companies and building them and selling them? How did you get into that?
Yeah, so when my boss from the at the government was a really smart guy, former military guy, then he joined the government. I was with the weather service, and I was in the technician department, and he said, "Hey, dude, you're a salesman. You should go sell stuff, right?" I don't know what he saw, but he saw something in me in my 20s, right? And so I joined a sales company selling some high-tech testing equipment in the electronic industry, just general electronics. In the 80s, there was all sorts of, companies like Litton and Rockwell and, Lockheed Martin and whatever companies like that building electronic gizmos for the government, for the military. We were selling stuff to these guys, and I realized that, the sales is like a cheat code for how to sort of get ahead in life, right? Like, doesn't matter what your background is. You could be you could not even finish high school. You could be a high school grad, a
Right.
college grad, university, whatever. But at any point, you can sort of jump in and find products that you resonate with and start selling them, and you can really like leap scotch up in terms of your income. Whereas a lot of other businesses and like careers take a lot more schooling or a lot more time to get there, right? You have to pay your dues, right? But in sales, it's
Yeah.
a like I call it the cheat code, right? And if you do really well, you could make 100 grand your first year, right? And
That's right. That's right.
that kind of thing, right? And so I realized that's there's leverage in that, right? And then I realized a few years in that my
Mhm.
bosses, the guys that owned the sales company, they had leverage over themselves and me, right? And so I realized, hey,
Yes.
if I could start a similar business selling
Hmm.
similar like products and the stuff that I knew at least, I could get paid when I get paid, but also when my salespeople got paid, right? If I was
That's
so,
right.
and so that's what I did. I approached them with an idea to spin off a division that I could get some ownership in, and they turned me down, and they said, "No, you're doing well. You should just stick to your knitting." And so I quit my job, and really the next day I actually quit my job, and I'd only been married for 6 days at the time. Forgot to tell the wife I was quitting, and I don't recommend doing it this way. I have a little three-part
Please don't.
strategy for how to get out of the how to get from behind the 9 to 5, and but nonetheless, I had a product line I knew I could go and access in a related field, and started building, and that business grew quite nicely. And I had two other partners, and we sold it in the early 2000s, and we did pretty well. But I had an opportunity to focus even more in wireless telecom, and start another business. And this one, I had some more ideas around doing better customer service, just the ways I wanted to approach the market. And so again, I had a couple of product lines I knew that I could get access to. I had a couple of customers, and I had some runway ahead of me because I had some money, in the bank. And so I decided I was going to do it again. So I started another company from scratch, three guys, and we built and sold that. It was that we were doing our top line was 84 million the year we sold it in 2022. So we grew it quite nicely,
Yes.
and so the way you do it is by taking that leap, right? Like that was your question, how do you do it? And people are like, well, how do I take the leap, right? And so I'm happy to go into that if you like, but I'll take a breath and give you a chance to see if you want to have any different questions. So
I was going to say, how did you, like let's because this is always big, right? So we're mentoring and coaching people, and we're doing so many amazing things that's out there. And as we're doing it, there, individuals that get to the point to where you got this part-time deal, and you still have your 9 to 5, right? How do you then make that transition? What are some
yeah,
points you can talk to for those
okay,
individuals that's out there that's right on that
so
edge? Like, I want to take
yeah,
that leap, but I'm
yeah,
nervous.
yeah. So So the part-time thing never worked for me, right? The
Yeah.
side hustle. I'm always
Hmm.
coaching people to go all in, right? And so, and I said, there's three
Yes.
things that you need, right? And so, and again, I don't say this very often, but write this down, right? Like these are the three
Write
things
it
that you
down.
need. These are the three things that
Yes.
you need, and it's all you need. So one,
Hmm.
you need a minimum viable product. You have to something to sell, right? Like we're talking about
That's
starting a
right.
sassez kind of thing, right? Selling stuff, right? Or
That's
whatever.
right.
So it could be software, it could be hardware, it could be a service, but you got to have something to sell. And yet,
Yes.
and maybe a product line that you can sell, or maybe you have a product to sell, or maybe you have some software that you can sell, but you needed access to a product line that you can sell. So the product, minimum viable, and you don't have to design the world's best mousetrap. You just need a mousetrap that people will buy, right? Like, don't spend all your time. Oh, it's not good enough. I gotta, no, no, no. Minimum viable product. That's the first thing you need.
That's right.
Second thing that you need is you need, and this is kind of painful a little bit, but you need kind of like 18 months of runway of either money in the bank to pay your own rent and food, or you need a wife or a husband that'll pay for it for you, that'll feed you,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
One or the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
So if you're married, you probably have a chance because your spouse could be working, but otherwise, you got to know that you won't need to put your hand in the coffers at work and people are like 18 months, that's a long time. And I'm saying, yeah, that's because sometimes that's how long it takes. Maybe you'll be making money in 3 months, but you can't bank on that. It's a highly unlikely that you will. And so I always say, hey, 18 months, that's really the magic kind of number. And hopefully by 12, you're pulling a paycheck and you started to scale, right? So that's the second thing. Minimum viable product, 18 months of runway. And I'm just talking ramen noodles and a roof over your head, right? You
That's right.
know,
That's right.
the basics, right? And then the third thing that you need, which people can sometimes scratch their head a little bit though, is you need a customer that you don't deserve. And people are like, what do you mean by a customer I don't deserve, right? And I'm like, well, you don't have any customers, so you don't have anything other than your past for them to base you on. And so someone at the beginning will take a chance on you. And so you really don't
Yes.
deserve it because you haven't proven it yet, right? You, of course, have to
That's
work your
right.
butt off to prove that they made a good choice. But so you need to have that gift of a first client that's going to take a chance on you and give you that order, and every other order you earn on your own after that, right? And so, say, hey, we sold this to, this company, and so other people will take a chance, right? But the first guy's got to take a huge leap of faith, right? Three things:
Yes.
minimum viable product, 18 months of runway, and a customer that has faith in you, and an order you don't deserve. And if you can get those three things and string them together, I always suggest to people, don't try to dance between the side hustle and the 9 to 5, because what ends up happening is they kind of come up against I call it the wall, and where they're making a little money on the side thing already, but they've also got the 9 to 5 with their benefits and this and that, and they keep coming up to the wall and they're like, oh, but if I quit, I'm going to lose my benefits, or I'm going to lose my this or my that, or
Yeah.
and the
Yep.
problem is that when you keep hitting the wall, you never get past it, right? You hit the wall and you
Yes.
stop, and you're still working 9 to 5, and you don't have the time to put into the side hustle to get it to the point where it can feed you, and so it's a revolving door. Right? It's just an endless loop, right? What I tell them is, look, just jump over the wall, because the reason that you're scared at the wall, the reason that you're stuck at the wall is because you're scared, right? And I said, well, if you think you're
Yes.
scared on this side of the wall, you wait till you see how scared you are on the other side, right? Because you're
Yeah.
going to be worrying about starving to death, right? And or
Yeah.
having your spouse, mad at you because you're not bringing in the money yet, right? But that fear will drive you forward from the wall rather than bounce you off the
Yes.
wall, right? And every day you look back, the wall's farther behind you, right? And so that's kind of my magic formula, is take that final leap of faith and just go all in and give it a shot. And I mean, look, in most, and no one does any one thing for their whole life. So even if you did something and it was turned out to be wrong, you can always go back to to what you were doing before, we can refund your misery and you can go back to your old job, or you can get a new job, or or you can find a new hustle and try something else new, right?
That's
And I
true.
guarantee whatever you do, it's probably not going to be where you end up at the end. So, it's all a journey anyways, right? So,
I agree. I absolutely agree. First of all, thank you for those nuggets. Those are great because I know a lot of people hit, like you say, hit that wall and they're nervous. But I think if you want to expand and experience the growth and the gratitude and the next level, if you will, on the other side of that wall is beyond anything and any pleasure that you can receive. But that, if I will, that side, no, excuse me, that 9 to 5. So when you finally go through that wall or around the wall, above it, or what have you, you get to the other side. It's a totally different freedom. But like
yeah.
you said, but then you start saying, wait, I gotta eat.
Yeah.
I have to eat. So I totally agree with you. Let me, in your experiences and everything that you're doing, how does this literally like move into the coaching part, right? So you went from, hey, I'm first of all, I'm an employee, a civil servant. Then I'm a finally go through the wall. Then all of a sudden you start having some success there. And then it's like, what came into you to start saying, all right, let me decide to start coaching some of these crazy people out here?
Yeah, so I've always had my business, my core business, right? So most of the coaching and mentoring that I've done has been basically bumping into companies and individuals with companies and me sharing my ideas, which later became parts of the book and things like that, right? And they're like, hey, can you come and share that with my sales team, right? Can you come and
Mm-hmm.
speak at my event and things like that, right? And that so I never took the leap of quitting my sales job because I had a company and it was very doing well, right? To like become a
Right.
full-time coach. But I mean, I would always give my time freely and availably whenever I could, to companies where we had sort of a shared vision of the way I was doing it was the way, things that, versus me having a system that I was, training. So because my 9 to 5 company day job's not coaching. It's that's more something I give almost in a pay it forward kind of a
Yeah.
way. And and
Mm-hmm.
and it's always come back to me tenfold in terms of rewards. Obviously, sometimes I've been paid, but a lot of times I've done it for business owners for free, and I've traded their knowledge later back to me on something that maybe
Okay.
they were experts in
Yeah.
finance, how to get a bank loan, or how to get a government contract, or how to get into IBM or whatever, right? And
That's right.
yeah. And so and so it's just basically sharing the stories brought people towards me. And then they would, a lot of times I try to tell them with some humor and they're like, oh my God, you have to come to our sales meeting. You have to train, and that's basically how it happened. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Now, I don't want nothing to get back because that's great, but I want to get into this book. Tell us about the book. Let's get to the book. We got to sell some books. let's
Right.
let's get to tell me about the book. What's going
Yeah.
on with the
So,
book? Tell our family about the book.
like in the 80s when I started, right? I mean, the guys that owned the company were really good salespeople, and I noticed over time that they kept doing the same things over and over again, and they were getting good results, right? Just like the definition of insanity, it can also work in your favor, right? Like the
That's right.
and so I started writing down the behaviors and the rules and the tactics and giving them little names or naming them after people, and then I started collecting them in this little book, right? And I still have this book to this day, and it became, just tip after tip after tip, right? And so then that was where I would always go to share my stories with people when they would ask me to come and talk and what have you. And they're like, "Oh, you should write a book," right? And so
Yeah, yeah.
I never really, I said, yeah, I should, but I never did, right? Because I mean, that's not my, my true calling, I guess, or whatever. But when the pandemic hit, I had nothing else to do. And so I thought, what better time than now, to, buckle down and see if I can get enough words on paper, to write a book. So I had all the different, stories. I felt I had enough. And I basically Googled how many words do I need to write a book, and it said for a business book you need about 75,000. So I just wrote every weekend. I wrote 2,500 words a weekend until it was done, And I sent it to the first editor, and she sent it back to me, and she said, "Glenn, you can't use that many swear words in a book." And I'm like, "Okay, why don't we agree on 71,000 words?" And,
Right.
and that's how I ended up with the book, 71,000 words later. No, but I mean, I used a few colorful language, here and there to make my point, and I'm just joking about that part, but nonetheless, that's how it came about. And there's a lot of tools online now for self-publishing. It's not, you don't need
Yeah.
Simon and Schuster to come and sign you up, right? There's a guy,
Right.
you can hire an editor for this and an editor for that, and someone to help you with the cover, and then another guy can help you to put it in the right format that it can get sucked into Amazon and most
Yeah.
people don't know this, but even with hard copy books, like Amazon prints them on demand. Like when you order a book, there's probably no book. They probably just print it that day and send it to you, cover and all.
Wow.
And I mean, in the hardcovers, it's a little bit more to print. They'll print 10 of them. And so you better hope you sell 10 hardcovers, because if you don't, they'll charge you for the books.
That's
And
right.
then of course they have them in stock, right? And then
Yeah.
they'll put them on sale for you. And so Amazon they figured it all out, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But
One
yeah.
thing that I appreciate when you said you started taking notes, it just rushed to me and saying that you're a career student, right?
Oh yeah.
Regardless of
Oh
how
yeah.
much exercise we do, regardless of how much knowledge we think we have in the field, but you consistently and continuously become a student or stay a student, I should say,
Yeah.
and continue to stay a student.
Absolutely.
I think that's important for entrepreneurs. I think a lot of
Yeah.
times some people think they're an entrepreneur, but then they stop learning, or they don't
Right.
want to learn anything, or they don't want to go to the training or the classes or the whatever it
Yeah.
is, or even sit down and like you and I have a real conversation literally about, hey, how can we grow the business or what can we do? Do you think this? What do you think? If you're not having those conversations and learning, then you become stagnant. And that's not what we want to do, is just become stagnant.
Yeah. Yeah, very
So
good point, and when you want to decide, hey, am I an entrepreneur or not, you'll know when you hit the wall and whether you jump over it, right? Because the entrepreneur is the one that jumps over that wall, come what may, damn the torpedoes, right? Like and so
mm-hmm.
that's really where the rubber meets the road in terms of being an entrepreneur. And
Do you have any challenges as being, I'll say, quote unquote, a sales professional, an entrepreneur face? How did you get over some of those things? I mean, I know how I did, but some of the days,
well,
it's like you talk about your,
So, yeah, and so over the years, I built all sorts of little rules about how to behave, right? But I'm not going to kid the audience as well. Nowadays, it's become even more complicated because, with the remnants of the pandemic and people not at work, and there's been this sort of like aversion to you making calls on them. Whereas before 2020 or whatever, like when you were a salesman, you went and made sales calls. Like that's your job, right? And then of
yeah,
course it was
yeah,
remote, and then it was Zoom, but I mean, nobody wants to buy a private jet on Zoom, right? Like, they want to go for a test flight, right? And so,
that's right.
and I'm not selling jets, but it doesn't really matter. The rule holds true all the way down the dollar stack, right? People want to try with
Yeah,
their. And so, but nowadays I found, people are very complicated to get a hold of. If you phone them and they don't recognize your number, they don't answer. If you email them, they probably delete your email without reading it. And so
yes,
it's like, what do you do, right? And so you have to practice a litany of things. You got to try to connect with them on LinkedIn. You got to send them an email, send them a phone call, right? Try to get their mobile number through data mining and what have you. Send them a mobile and say, hey, I just left you a voicemail. I wanted you to know who it was. It's Glenn from, whatever. And then you maybe kind of build them where they recognize your name and your number, and then the next time maybe they'll
yeah,
pick up, right? But you know, the challenges, are how to get, act, and stay in front of your customer, and to be a pleasure to do business with always, right? And I mean,
that's
and
right.
I learned over time that the number one way is like not to be a pain in the butt, right? Like you don't want to be
Yes,
that salesperson. You don't want to be
that's
that
right.
guy, right? And so, I made lots of mistakes insinuating myself on people over, inviting out, people well above my level at the, well before it was
Hmm.
warranted. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we should have
Yes.
lunch, right? And they're like, I'm not gonna have lunch with you. You're not even, we don't even, like it's not appropriate, right? And so
Right.
you want to build genuine honest rapport with people, right? And so again, in the book, I have lots of examples on how to listen, how to build rapport, how to practice sympathy, empathy, and compassion with your customers, and how to win graciously and how to lose graciously. Because if let's say you're selling to a large business, you might be having to sell them every year, year over year, different products, right? You need to maintain your stature with them in the face of winning and losing because you're not going to win every deal. So what do you do when you lose? That's where the
Right.
real story gets told in terms of how you behave and whether they want to call you back. Because a lot of times, if you lose poorly, it's like, well, we're never calling him again. He freaked out because he lost the deal, right? And
That's
so
right.
so I give people how they can protect themselves. I call it how to lose quickly, right? If you think you're going to lose something, you're better off to run to the next customer and let the competitors fight it out at a deal you can't win, and go find one that you can, right? And
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
and on the deals that you can win, you know, try to get act and stay in front of that customer as much as you can, right? And
That's right.
yeah. And so,
I
yeah,
One thing that I know, and I know we talked about this earlier, of you being a consistent student and you consistently be a student. How do you stay up to date on the latest, I would say, sales techniques or trends and whatever else? But how do you actually stay up to date on that? I mean, you're busy, you're building businesses,
yeah.
you got the family, you're going to two countries, two houses. But how do you stay up on all of those latest trends?
Yeah, well, lately mainly I kind of like I'm a bit of a geek, I guess, in terms of, wanting to learn about the products that I sell and ways of selling it, right? So now it's all about how can I use AI to do things better, right? And I learned very
Yes.
quickly that I can't get it to do it for me. It's like a power drill, right? I can make a deck out back and drill screws in with a screwdriver and my hand falls off, or I can get a power drill and I can put 500 screws in a day. And that's what AI is for you, right? It can help you to
Right.
find customers, find phone numbers, write some scripts to help you to present your product, but you still have to do it, right? And so I'm just playing with the tools that are presented to me every day, and I have a funny chapter in the book called Greed-Based Learning, right? Which is that your ability to absorb information on your topic is a lot easier to retain when there's a financial incentive. And I mean, I didn't make up that that trait. It just exists. And if people are saying, I don't know if that's true or whatever, I'm saying, oh yeah, well, what about when you're ready to buy a new car and you come home to the wife and you can recite the specs of four different models and makes of cars because you know you're going to get a car at the end, right? And then you promptly forget about all those specs later, right? When there's an incentive, it's a lot easier to learn versus just trying to learn for learning's sake, right? And so that's what I call GBL, greed-based learning, right? So, find an
Mhm.
opportunity where you think, hey, if I can learn about this product, I can position it with these customers, or if I can learn about this
Yes.
tool, I can apply it here and it will increase my profitability. And it becomes so much easier to retain, right? And it's also, when if you bet a family member $5 on this ball game or whatever, right? You're a lot more invested in the outcome, and it's a lot easier to pay attention.
Absolutely.
And so you have to use these
Yes.
tricks. These are little games I use to keep my mind sharp and focused on the goal, right? And
That's
um,
right.
and
This
and
is
not, and not
interesting.
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh
Sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
and
Go
and
ahead.
not try to absorb facts and figures that are just not necessary, right? And I'm always
Yes.
trying,
Yeah.
so I'll call manufacturers of products we sell and I'll say, look, just tell me the top three things why people want to buy your product over the competition. I mean, what are the three things? That's what do I need to know? Because I'm probably just going to call you for the other 10 things that I need to know rather than try to learn it all, right? I mean, we sell
Yeah.
10, 20 different companies' products. I can't know them all. It's 500, 600 different products. So just tell me two or three
That's right.
bullet points so I can sound intelligent And then, if there's a
Yeah.
demo, I can get you on the phone with me, or maybe we can go and see the customer together, you can get on Zoom and I can go visit them or whatever, right? And so, just learn enough to be damage to do damage and you get in the door, and then
Right.
you'll naturally learn what you need to move along the cycle. You don't have to be a PhD on every product in order to sell it.
That's true. That's true. I think what's it called? Analysis paralysis. I think a lot of people
Yes.
they so absorbed with all the I gotta know everything. I gotta know everything. I gotta
Yeah.
and just go do it. Just go
Exactly.
do it.
Yeah.
Just go do it. I can't explain to you how many different customers I've gotten. Uh, don't have a clue. And like you said, I'm talking to this guy or this lady that's way at the top. And I just go up and say, hey, let's do business. It's,
Yeah.
sure, let's do business. And I don't have a clue. We'll figure it out. But if you say yes, we will figure the rest out. I'll promise you, we will figure the rest out. So, and it's also interesting that I guess this is just a human thing. If somebody gives you something for free, an opportunity or something to say, here you go, this is, hey, take care of it. It's kind of like, but if you
Right.
invested that $5, what you saying, it's like, hey,
That's right.
wait, hold on. We got to get
Yeah.
this right.
That's another way of thinking of the
It,
same thing. Exactly. And
yes.
yeah. And yeah, because I mean, when you get it for free, you kind of get what you pay for, right? Or whatever kind of
Yeah, yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah. That's
Uh,
true. That's
yeah.
true. So listen, this is what I'm going to do. Before I get to this last question, what is your contact information that they can actually call you or go to your site or whatever to get the
Yeah.
book? Y'all have to
Oh
get
yeah.
the
So
book.
just they can go to my name, glennpoulos.com, and it'll link to all the different bookstores around the world that carry the book in every different format, audiobook, ebook, hardcover, softcover, whatever. And if they want to talk to me specifically, they can send me a note on my website, but they can also go to LinkedIn and just connect with me and send me a note there and I'll reply back. I'm a top voice on LinkedIn. I'm on there every day communicating with people all the time. It's my number
Okay.
one way I talk to people, and I welcome all of them to connect with me, and we can converse about whatever they want, and no questions too, heavy or light for me. I'm out here to share it and pay it forward and talk to people and learn from each other. So,
You can't beat that. You can't beat that. So I want to open up the platform to you. And the question is, it's a very simple question, but I think it'll give you a lot of leeway to share some stuff. And for all of those individuals that are just starting in business, entrepreneur, what is some advice, some powerful advice you would give and share with them as they're whether they're starting in the middle or trying to scale to the next $1 billion company? What is some powerful advice that you would share with them?
so whenever I get asked that question, I have a go-to answer, and I'm going to give you that go-to answer, okay?
All right.
And it is a chapter in the book, but I'm going to give it to them anyways. They don't need to buy the book. And it's called, and they all have a funny name, right? All the chapters have kind of like a weird name, right? And so this one is, you only get forever to make another impression. Okay. And this is my golden
Wow.
rule. Okay. And it, cause, and it's kind of like a little bit of a play on words, right? And like, it's like, no, no, no. Your mom said you got to make a good first impression, right? And I'm like, yeah. And she was right. But you have to treat
Mhm.
every impression in the world as a first impression. And so to put
Right.
that into the real world practice, what I mean, and I'm always, a lot of times I'm talking to the guys and gals that are like 23 to 28 and they're kind of in their first little career stint, right? And this is where the
Mhm.
magic happens in your career. And and so, especially like when you're in sales or whatever, sometimes you're grinding it out and they've given you a list, call these 50 customers and see what they're doing, why haven't they bought from us in the last year and whatever. And you're like, oh, what a grind, right? Well,
Yeah.
you got to grind it out. But what you want to be doing as well is listening for when the boss is walking by. And when you hear the boss within 20 feet of you, you want to be amping up your grind to 200%. And you want to be the best
Yes.
grinder he's ever heard or she. And when they walk by, don't ever be on your phone looking at Facebook or Instagram. Always be on, right? If they invite you to a
Right.
trade show, don't be standing in the booth complaining your feet hurt, right? Or sitting down and complaining, go into the aisle, pull people in, right? And if there's nobody walking by the aisle to pull in, go to all the directors of marketing and VPs of product lines that you're in the booth with and say, hey, tell me the top three things in your products that I can use to be a better salesperson, right? Because at the end of the show, they'll be like, oh my God, that Glenn guy, he was pulling people in from the aisles. When he wasn't in the
Right.
aisles, he helped us set up, he stayed late and he helped us tear down the booth. And when he wasn't doing that, he was talking to every one of the product managers, learning about new products. And when it's time for the regional manager, I'm giving Glenn the job. And that's how
That's
you
right.
go. That's how when you ask, how did a guy go from being the guy driving the tow motor in the warehouse to the CEO? That's how. He made every
Yeah.
impression being a first impression and being a lasting one. And because the problem is, just to put it, if your boss walks by twice and he sees you on Facebook twice, you are a bum forever. You're just never going to recover from that. You're not going to become the vice
Ever.
president. It's done,
That's right.
right?
That's
And
right.
so this is a golden because you want to map out your career. Let's say you want to be a career. This doesn't really happen these days anymore, but a career at IBM or whatever. You want to map out. I'm in this department. I'm going to become the manager of this. Then I become the director of that. Then I become senior director. Then I become junior VP, VP, senior VP, executive VP, president. Executive, whatever. And you want to map it out and
Right.
figure out who do you have to impress along the way, so that when it comes time to pick the people for those roles, they just snatch you out of the and
That's right.
and that's my thing that I want to share.
Yeah. That's thank you so much. That's powerful. All right. So you're the first, this is the first time on Let's Talk for you, Glenn. So you got to be indoctrinated into the Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette family. It's very, very easy. It's not going
Okay.
to do anything that's going to make you run around the room or anything like that. But it's very, very easy. So you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you heard me when I first came on, and I made our Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette call out to everybody and so on. So I'm gonna do it one time, and then you just follow and do the same thing I do. Okay?
All right.
Very,
No
very
problem.
simple. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Here we go. Wow.
Why? To get
Yeah.
it? Awesome.
Oh God, Glenn, thank you so much for hanging out with us, being a part of the family. Obviously, you know you're coming back, so we're gonna be talking
No
about
problem.
something. We're
Anytime.
gonna be
Happy
talking
to.
back. We're gonna have some fun with it. But Glenn,
Oh,
thank you
that's
so
great.
much.
Thank you.
I know we're going to be talking and conversing, and
Yeah.
we'll connect and all of that other good stuff. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So for
Thank
everybody,
you.
don't forget to go to Glenn's website and listen, purchase the book, send him a message, go to LinkedIn if you don't want to do it through his website, whatever it is, connect with him and get that information, because sales, believe it or not, whether we like it or not, everybody is selling something. Even if
Yep.
they're selling themselves and saying they don't like sales, they're still selling something. All
You
right.
got it.
So that being said, oh, no, wait, let me just say this to the audience. I don't know why this popped up, and then we're going to get out of here. Is this, it's amazing how people who don't sell, when it's time for their kid to sell cookies
Oh,
or
yeah.
Girl Scout cookies or something for school, all of a sudden they are maniac in sales.
Yeah. No doubt, eh? I've seen that a few
Just a,
times.
yes, yes, they selling boxes of cookies. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So listen, everybody, sales, sales, sales. Don't turn it off, turn it on, and it's going to change your life. So that being said, I love each and every one of you. See y'all later. And Glenn and I are going to the beach somewhere. I wish y'all could come with us, but the flight booked. So see y'all next time on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette, and we out. Peace.